بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الهداة المهديين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the first few years Rasulullah did not publicly invite anyone to become a Muslim. Rasulullah was sent as a messenger at the age of 40. But the first few years Islam was a secret religion, and this is a point that is agreed upon between all Muslims. Now, how long was that phase? Anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on the different opinions. The only Muslims were Imam Ali alayhi salam, Sayyidah Khadija, and some reports also add 2 more individuals, Zayd ibn Haritha, and number 2, Ja'far, the brother of Imam Ali. It was only after 3 to 5 years that the message of Islam became public. And this is when Allah Azza wa Jal revealed this verse. فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ. Allah orders Rasulullah to go out and to invite people to Islam. Now it's a public message. It's a public invitation. It's no longer a private invitation. فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. So our traditions state that the Prophet ﷺ went out to the people of Mecca. He stood on somewhere high so that everyone can see him, and he invited people to Islam. He invited people to believe in only one God. قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُوا. There is one God, and that is Allah. And he ordered them, or he asked them to what? To disbelieve, to get rid of all the other idols that they used to worship, and to finally declare that he, Muhammad, is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After that, Rasulullah made a very bold statement, and you can find this hadith in the books of our ahadith. For example, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam narrates this from Rasulullah. He says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said this. He said, if you follow me, فَأَجِيبُونِي, if you heed to my call and become Muslims, not only will all the Arabs follow you, because remember there was a lot of Arab tribes, and they were all dispersed, and there was no unity between them. So if you follow me, all the Arabs will follow you. Meaning you will become leaders and masters of the Arabs. And then he said even the non-Arabs. Now remember, the Arabs are all these bunch of tribes between 2 superpowers. Between the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, and from the other side, the Persian Empire. The Prophet is making a very bold claim. Follow me, and you will conquer the Arabs and the non-Arabs. That was a very bold statement. This man, Muhammad, who has no money, has nothing, they used to call him the orphan. He's making such a huge claim. And then the Imam says that the Prophet said this. He said, فَأَجِيبُونِي, not only that, تَكُونُوا مُلُوكًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. If you answer my call and embrace my message, accept Islam, then you will become kings in the dunya and in the akhirah. Now that's a very bold claim. For the Prophet to state that my followers, if you follow me, you will become kings in the dunya and in the akhirah. So basically what the Prophet is saying is that this religion that I'm inviting you to is a special religion. It will transform your entire life. Such that if you take the teachings of this religion from its pure sources, you understand it and you follow it correctly. 3 conditions. First, you take it from its right sources. Number 2, you understand it. And number 3, you apply it. The Prophet says you will become kings in the dunya and the akhirah. Now in the akhirah, oh, that's obvious, yani paradise. But what about in the dunya? If you become a Muslim, you become a king, تَكُونُ مُلُوكًا. This is exactly the opposite of what we see today, unfortunately. The Muslim population, the Muslim community today in the world is anything but kings, correct? Unfortunately, Muslim blood is no longer sacred, has no sanctity. And this is not something new. This has been a common phenomenon over the last centuries, you can say. So how does Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that you will be kings in this dunya? You see, brothers and sisters, what makes Islam beautiful and unique out of all the religions, and this is one point that attracts many non-Muslims to Islam, is the fact that Islam is not a religion that just serves your akhirah. It's not a religion that just tries to perfect your next life, give you solutions for the next life, paradise, Yawm al-Qiyamah. You want salvation? Believe in Islam. You want salvation on the Day of Judgment, to be protected from the fires of hell, enter paradise in your grave after you die. Islam is not just about that, even though, unfortunately, this is how it is treated by many people. You know, in many communities I go, the most times that you find the masajid full or the Husayniyah full, do you know when it is? Besides, let's exclude Ashura, Muharram, and the Layali al-Qadr. Do you know when you find the masjid is completely full or the Husayniyah? In the Fawatih. When there's an usbu', a Fatiha, a funeral for one of the brothers, you see, MashaAllah, 1,000 people. But come to the normal program, Thursday night, let's say, there's a Friday night, you see 100 people, 50 people. So what does it show you? The understanding people have that this is a religion for after you die. When I'm alive, I have nothing to do with Islam. Yes, with the exception I may say is when people get married, the Katb Kitab as they call it, the Nikah, they will come to the masjid, they will come to the Sheikh, the Sayyid, the Maulana, and they will want it to be done in an Islamic way. But after the Katb Kitab, until sometimes divorce also, right? Marriage, divorce, and then death. These are the times that we usually have an attachment to religion. So the understanding we have is religion has nothing to do with this dunya. It's for the next life. And this, brothers and sisters, is one of the reasons why we find, unfortunately, we find that Islam is in a setback. Islam has become, unfortunately, a religion that has become belittled. The backwardness sometimes that we may see is because of this misunderstanding. That it's a religion that helps you in the next life, not in the dunya. While the Prophet says, believe in me, embrace my religion, you'll be kings in this dunya. And what the Prophet is really saying is, Islam is a religion that wants to perfect your dunya, not just your akhirah. Islam is a religion that is concerned about you living a quality life in this dunya, not just the akhirah. And that's why they say, this is a famous statement, that Islam is not a religion. What is it? It's a way of life. When you say, I'm Muslim, it doesn't mean I pray. It doesn't mean, well, I fast, just spirituality. Spirituality is one aspect of Islam. There are hundreds of aspects of Islam. For example, you find Islam, being a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us to living a perfect life in every part of our life. When it comes to getting married, how to get married, who to choose, go to Islam. So much traditions and teachings. When it comes to having a child, when it comes to raising your children, when it comes to education, what education to seek and what to do. When it comes to health matters, Islam also has many recommendations. When it comes to your personal hygiene, Islam, you could find hundreds of ahadith from the Imam. Your personal hygiene, how to take care of it. Some people think that this is what to complicate your life. No, Islam is a way of life. Allah Azza wa Jal created me, He knows what's best for me. He says this is a package. Take it all if you want to live like kings. Islam, you find, has laws on personal development. How to become a more effective person. How to make friends. How to become a leader. traditions from Imam Ali alayhi salam and Nahj al-Balagha, you find that the Imam is a sociologist. He's a psychologist. It's not just religion. It's every aspect of your life. And that's why Rasulullah says, فَأَجِيبُونِي تَكُونُوا مُلُوكًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. If you follow me, you will become kings in this life. Look at the laws regarding business and transactions, tijara. There are so many laws, so many ahkam. Are they to complicate your lives? No, they're to guide you. They're not to complicate your lives. And one of the most important factors that determines the quality of our life, brothers and sisters, is our health. There's a hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, in which he says in the hadith, he says, "As-sihhatu afdalun ni'am." Sihha, being healthy, is one of the greatest ni'am of Allah upon us. And this is one of the ni'am, blessings of Allah, that is usually overlooked. That's why there's another hadith from, I believe, the Prophet, where he says, "Ni'matan majhulatan." There are two ni'am of Allah that we take for granted. We don't even realize we have it until we lose it. As-sihhatu wal-aman. Sihha, health, and number two, aman. When you live in a safe, secure country, neighborhood, this is a ni'mah that when you live it, you don't realize it. You take it for granted. When you lose it, this is when you start to yearn for those days and you realize that you were in so much ni'am, now it's taken away. That's why you see most young people who are healthy, do you usually find them thanking Allah for being healthy? See a 20-year-old, Alhamdulillah, Ya Allah, that I don't have back pain, that I don't have heart problems, I don't have cholesterol, I don't have arthritis, Alhamdulillah, I can... This is something often overlooked. It's taken for granted. Imam Ali alayhi salam says this is one of the greatest ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is when He gives us health, good health. Because this will determine if you can live not just a life, but a life that is made of high quality. Because we don't want to just live, we want to live high quality life. And when it comes to health, brothers and sisters, what is the factor that impacts your health the most? So either the most or one of the top factors that impact our health. What do you think? Who can take a guess?
Food.
Naam? Food, ahsan. Our diet. Our diet has the greatest impact on our health. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to live like a king, as the Prophet said in the hadith. He wants you to live a good quality life, a meaningful life, a contentful life. That depends on being healthy, correct? If you're living your entire life and you're not healthy, you have all these health complications, it's very difficult for you to be content. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be content, wants you to live like a king. That depends on what? Being healthy. And being healthy depends on your diet. So if Allah Azza wa Jal wants you to live like a king, what does He have to do? He has to teach you what to eat and what not to eat. He has to give you the perfect diet. Because without knowing what to eat and what diet is best for me, how can I stay healthy? And if I can't stay healthy, how can I live a peaceful, happy life? A contentful life like a king? So that's why when you come to Islam, and this is one of the most beautiful aspects of Islam, is the Islamic dietary system. It is a system that is unmatched, brothers and sisters, by any other religion, by any other way of life. Now some look at the Islamic dietary system, they just see restrictions, haram, haram, haram. That's wrong. Islam's dietary system is to guarantee and protect you from physical harm, mental harm, and likewise spiritual harm. And there is no religion that ensures that like Islam. And let me just quickly say this before I get into the Islamic dietary system. Our health, our diet, affects our health in three ways. Number one, physically, as you all know. What you eat affects your physical health in a huge way. Remember we mentioned the first night the hadith of Rasulullah where he says, Al-mi'datu baytud da wal-himyatu ra'sud dawa. He says, the source of your sicknesses, many of them, is the ma'dah, what you eat, the stomach. The processed foods, the sugars, the carbohydrates, the fast food, and all these other things. These are what? Lead to many of the sicknesses that we have. Wal-himya. Himya means what? To be careful what you eat, to diet basically. This is ra'sud dawa. This is the key to staying healthy. Now, there is a famous saying that says, you are what you eat. You are what you eat. What does that mean? You eat unhealthy food, you also become unhealthy. You eat healthy food, you also live a healthy life. So it has a great effect on your body, on your brain, on your organs, on your memory. Food affects all this stuff, on your vision, on every physical part of your body. Food has an effect on that. Now, when you look at the sicknesses today, how many sicknesses and diseases are there? Hundreds, if not thousands, correct? I read in a report by the World Health Organization that 20% of all deaths, maybe I mentioned this the first night, 20% of all deaths in the world today happen because of poor diet. 1/5 of the deaths. Now obviously you're going to die one day, but most people are dying before their time. Why? Because of poor diet. Either because they're eating the wrong foods, or they're eating too much food, or they're not receiving enough food. And there was once a video I saw of a doctor in the US who said for the last 26 years, he was a bit older, maybe in his 60s, he says, never did I get sick. Never once, not even a cold, not even a flu. So they asked him, what is it? What's your secret? He said, my secret is I completely abstain from sugar. No sugars. Anything that has, even our bread, many times read the ingredients, it has sugar. So you have to be careful right now when you go and buy stuff. Sugar is placed into everything. Maybe even this water, I don't know, eventually they'll add some sugar in it to make it taste better. He says, I completely stopped sugar. I never get sick anymore. My immune system I became like Superman when it came to my immune system. So physically, obviously, the food we eat impacts our health. Now, food also impacts our mental health. Our mental health, psychiatrists and psychologists state, it is greatly impacted by food. Your mood, your mood, how you're feeling. Your mood, your energy, your emotions, if you're having stress, depression, many of that is impacted by the food that you eat, negatively and positively. Meaning some foods, they may hurt your mental health, and other foods may be uplifting to your mental health. And this is proven through clinical studies. And that's why, if any one of you has tried this, or if you've read about it, when you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist and you have a mental health issue, they will give you many remedies, many suggestions. Sometimes they will give you some medication. Sometimes they'll give you exercises. And almost every time they will focus on your diet. They tell you change your diet a bit and your depression will become much better. Your anxiety will be relieved. Whatever mental health issue you may have, your diet has an effect on your mental health. So this is number 2. And finally, the food we eat affects our spirit. The food we eat affects our spirit, our faith, our soul, our iman, our spiritual heart. The food you eat has a direct impact on this. So all these 3 things, and they are the 3 most important things in our lives. Your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. They are all impacted greatly by the food you eat, by your diet. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to live like a king. What does Allah have to do? Allah Azza wa Jal has to guide you and teach you and give you the best diet. Because this diet will ultimately impact you in every part of your life. And you know, if someone is not physically fit, if they are not physically healthy or mentally healthy, that will also impact their spirit. Someone who's depressed, I've seen many people, even if they are religious people, devout people, when they have a sense of depression, you find that they start doing less of the recommended acts. They don't feel like praying Salatul Layl, they don't feel like reading Quran. When you have physical pain, the a'mal that you want to do become difficult, they become a burden. Salah becomes a burden. Going to Umrah, for example, fasting, many people because of physical illnesses, they're not allowed. So you see how these are all interconnected? So that's why the Holy Quran tells us, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Make sure that what you look at the food that you eat. Now, this has an apparent meaning, the food, the physical food, and also food for thought, the knowledge that you learn, and also the faith that you are learning. But the Quran says, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Make sure that your food is good food, it's healthy food, it's halal food, because all of that will have an impact on every part of your life, physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and finally spiritually. Now that we understand this, let's go back once again and recap. Number one, Allah wants us to live like kings as Muslims. Number two, that is heavily dependent on us being healthy. Number three, our health is dependent on what? On the food that we eat. So the conclusion is, Allah Azza wa Jal wants us to live like kings. That means He has to give us an Islamic dietary system that can ensure our mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health is good. And that's why, brothers and sisters, in the next few minutes that I have, I want to quickly go over the Islamic dietary system. Does Islam even have a dietary system? Is there such a thing as an Islamic diet? Because you see today, there are many types of diets, correct? There is the low-carb diet, there's the low-fat diet, there is the keto diet. Is that the one you referred to, doctor, the other day? He gave us some chocolate and he said, don't worry, this is keto-friendly or keto diet. You have sugar-free, you have right now, I don't know, all these different weird diets. The Atkins diet, the Mediterranean diet, and mashallah, every couple of months there's a new diet that comes out. And each one tells you what to eat, when to eat it, and how much, the portions. But when we come to Islam, many people believe Islam is religion. Akhirah, salah, ibadah. What does that have to do with which foods I eat? This is the misconception once again. Islam is a complete way of life. But how many of us, brothers and sisters, actually follow the Islamic dietary system? I'm not just talking halal and haram. This is the ABCs, first grade level. I'm talking much higher. Not just halal and haram, what's good for you, what's bad for you, according to the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. Like I said, what's good for you or bad for you physically, psychologically, and spiritually. How many of us even read the hadith? How many of us know what the Islamic diet is? This is what I want to quickly go over tonight, but first, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And by the way, before I begin, I don't know if who of you has heard about the seafood diet. You know what the seafood diet is? You see food and you eat it. That's the seafood diet. Basically, eat everything. So C, not C-A-E, C-E-E. Joke. Anyway. So what is the Islamic dietary system? What's beautiful about Islam is the Islamic dietary system is very simple. Some dietary systems, some diets, you have to memorize a book. 500 pages. You have to keep on counting the calories. You have to keep on counting the carbs. They prevent you from eating 90% of the foods. And you can only eat 10% of foods, and that's why eventually you start hating those foods that you're allowed to eat. There's some people that tell me, say, I do, for example, the low-carb diet. So I can't eat bread, I can't eat any rice, spaghetti, I can't eat any fruits that are, have lots of sugars, anything that has sugar. So practically the only thing I can really eat is vegetables, boring vegetables, and chicken, meat, and fish, but what? Just like eat it without any bread or without any rice. They say eventually after a month, I get sick of meat. I get sick of chicken. I get sick of this because eat the same thing almost every day. So even if you try to, create some diversity, at the end of the day, it's still same types of food. What's beautiful about the Islamic dietary system, not only is it effective, but it's also very, very simple. In Islam, there is one golden rule. One golden rule that if you memorize, apply it right, that will ensure you living a healthy life, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Now, what is that golden rule? Allah mentions that golden rule in the Quran. What's the verse? Who knows it before I mention? Can anyone guess? What's the golden rule to the Islamic dietary law? It's in the Quran. Close, but not this one exactly. Another try. It's in the Quran. It's a golden rule. You can extract from it hundreds of laws. أحسنتم. كلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا. This verse, if we analyze it, is basically two laws. The first law is كلوا واشربوا. Allah says eat and drink. Now this is not looking at the halal and haram, how you slaughter. This is just the different types of food and which ones we should eat, which ones we should not eat. This verse in the Quran is saying the natural foods that Allah has created and the natural drinks that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Now, like I said, excluding some things that are essentially haram, some animals that are essentially haram, for example, alcohol and whatnot. The fruits, the vegetables, the grains that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, the Quran is implying here that you can eat anything you want. The Islamic dietary system does not prevent you from eating a specific food like other diets. Stay away from carbs, stay away from fats, stay away from... These are all things Allah created, they're good for you. So the first law is that you can eat anything that is naturally made by Allah, organic. Now, of course, a lot of the foods that we have are processed foods, right? They're processed foods, they're non-organic, filled with, all these... GMO, yes, they're all GMO and chemicals. So obviously we're not talking about that. The natural foods that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided for us, you can eat all of them. The Quran doesn't say eat this but don't eat that when it comes to the types of food, not halal and haram, remember. So this is number one. What's the Islamic dietary law? Eat whatever you want. As long as it's natural. As long as it's not processed. And then come to the second part. Allah says, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. What's more important is how much you eat. Do not do israf. Israf means you eat too much. This is the second part of this golden rule. So eat all these foods. Eat chicken, eat meat, eat shrimp, eat vegetables, eat rice, eat bread, eat. وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. But do not eat more than your body needs. Because beyond what your body needs, this is israf. This is waste. Not only is it a waste, aslan it's harmful. Sometimes there's a habit that we have. We're like invited somewhere, even between us when we're eating as a family, we're all eating, and then there's some food left, and like usually the mother wants to khalas, get rid of it, and you're very full. So she says, "Yalla, eat it, hatta I don't have to put it in the fridge." Technically what we're doing here, we're treating our stomachs like a trash can. Just stuff it in, so I don't have to throw it away. Maybe if you throw it away, it's better than just to stuff it. Because if you throw it away, you're doing one thing, you're just throwing away food. But if you just stuff it, you eat it just because it doesn't get thrown away, first of all, you are throwing it away because there's absolutely no benefit. Second of all, it's harming you. At least when you throw it in the trash, it's not harming you. So just to eat it, because we don't want it to stay, because Allah, we want the sufra to be empty, this is wrong. The Quran says, "Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu." That's why we're all sick. That's why so many diseases, unfortunately, and this is part of the Arabian culture. When you invite someone, you feed them and feed them until they explode. Now obviously this is tied to karam, generosity, but everything has limits. Quran says, "La tusrifu." Don't eat more than you need. Don't force others to eat more than they can eat. So this is the golden rule of Islam. And Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, he emphasizes this law in a beautiful hadith. He says, لَيْسَ الْحِمْيَةُ مِنَ الشَّيْءِ تَرْكُهُ. When we hear himya, diet, it means, oh no, I can't eat all these foods. Now remember, we're talking about the natural foods, not all these processed foods and junk food. لَيْسَ الْحِمْيَةُ مِنَ الشَّيْءِ تَرْكُهُ. You don't have to leave any food. You don't have to completely cancel a category of food. Carbs, foods that have fat. That Imam says, وَإِنَّمَا الْحِمْيَةُ مِنَ الشَّيْءِ الْإِقْلَالُ مِنْهِ. You can eat it, but eat in small portions. Because this is how much your body needs. Beyond that, it's just harming you physically, mentally, and spiritually. So even meat, right now there's this movement that is it's more common in the Western countries, but even here, I'm hearing some people are following this new movement, the vegetarian diet, right? Or even more extreme, the vegan diet. What's the difference between vegetarian and vegan? That needs, I think, a whole course in order to realize the differences. Anything that is extracted, taken from animals. So for example, milk, vegetarian diet, you can have it, but vegan diet, you can't. Eggs, butter, so on and so forth. Now, one of the reasons why some people, they adapt a vegetarian diet is because of health reasons. They say it's much healthier for you because meat is causing all these sicknesses, heart problems, and it's much healthier to just completely not eat it. Now there are others who become vegetarians for other reasons, animal rights and whatever. But a lot of people, you find it's for health reasons. Now, does Islam agree with that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen to the hadith of Rasulullah. What does the Prophet say? He says, the hadith says, قال رسول الله اللحم سيد الطعام في الدنيا والآخرة. The Prophet praises meat. He says it is Sayyidul Ta'am. It is the king of foods, the master of foods, the greatest food in paradise and in the dunya. Does that mean don't eat it? Does that mean become a vegetarian? No. Rasulullah used to eat meat. Rasulullah used to love eating meat. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt would eat meat at times. They would not refrain from eating meat. And in fact, our traditions state that it is makruh, discouraged for you to refrain from eating meat for 40 days. Do not do that. Let's say you don't like meat. At least once every 40 days, eat it. Why? Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal created you. He knows what's good for your body. Your manufacturer knows what you're supposed to put in you. If you buy let's say a Ford car, you don't go and ask Kia, for example, or Hyundai, what I put in this car, what type of oil, what type of it. You ask the manufacturer, they manufactured it. Allah Azza wa Jal is my manufacturer. He's my designer. He's my creator. He created these different types of foods like meat. Now specific meats like let's say lamb or beef or, there's this misconception that beef is makruh. Absolutely incorrect. It is not makruh. Or some people think chicken is makruh. Not makruh at all. So these foods, Allah created them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted us to eat them. And Rasulullah used to eat them. And the Imams used to eat them. And the Prophet is saying, it is Sayyidul Ta'am. So there's an encouragement to eat it. Why? Because it's good for your body. It's good for you. Now, the problem with me is this. The problem with me is when you eat too much meat. And this is exactly what we're doing. Here in Kuwait, you get invited to someone's house. Like I said, this is also a good thing because it's the generosity, but sometimes, we try to become too generous and that impacts another part of our life in a negative way. So you go to someone who wants to honor you. What will they bring if they want to honor you? Here, like the signature dish. Boozy, right? Is that bad? No. But what's the problem? You see, they bring a huge dish, صينية, right? It looks like it's enough for 15 people. As you see, this is safe for 4 people. Each one eats half a kilogram of meat and 2 kilograms or 1 kilogram of rice. Of course you're going to fall and die after a couple of days. But don't blame meat. Don't blame rice. Blame overeating. The Quran says, "Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu." Rasulullah, when he used to eat meat, you see, like this, like me. Rasulullah used to eat maybe, 50 grams of meat. 2-3 spoons of meat. That's good, your body needs it. So the heart disease that we see tied to eating meat and red meat and all the other diseases, it's not because you're eating meat, it's because you're eating too much meat. And in the West, it's their steaks. You see their steaks? This big. A steak that weighs almost, I don't know how much, a kilo. All that in one meal, of course you can have all these sicknesses. Or else eating meat is good for us. And you know, I was reading about some studies regarding the vegetarian or vegan diet. You know, there are harms to the vegetarian vegan diet. So it's kind of like you're running away from one harm, but you fall into another problem. So yes, usually people who are vegetarians, they have less heart problems, heart diseases, because they're not eating meat. But at the same time, because they're not eating meat, and meat is good for us, it has many, many essential vitamins and many substances that our body needs, they fall into other problems. For example, the vegetarian diet increases, these are all studies, increases the chances of stroke by 20%. Just by not eating meats. Now, like I said, it does decrease the heart disease, but it increases stroke. So what have you done? You haven't really done anything. You fixed it here, but you create another problem there. Other examples is it leads to sometimes it leads to some brain harm, hair loss, and your body will not receive the vitamins that it needs. Because many times, what is in meat cannot be found in anything else. And you know, even right now they're trying to make meat that's plant-based. Have you seen it? Like I remember once I ate a burger, and it tastes like a burger, it looks like a burger, but it's not a burger. It's not meat. It's all plant-based. And I was reading studies that this plant-based meat, it causes more health problems than it solves. Yes, for your heart, maybe cholesterol, it's good, but it causes other problems, and you can read about it online. So this shows you that meat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, I created this. I created meat for you. I created chicken. I know it's good for you. Don't go and try to create something else, an alternative. Because whatever is man-made will never be like what Allah makes for you. But Allah tells us, La tusrifu, don't eat too much. We're eating too much meat, everyday chicken, everyday fish. This is the problem. The Quran says, La tusrifu, eat in moderation. As long as you eat in moderation, you can eat whatever you want, as long as, like I said, they are the natural foods. Now, overeating that we speak about, israf, has many harms on our body, correct? For example, let's quickly go over them. When we eat too much, beyond what our body needs, beyond feeling, satisfied. For example, you gain weight, and obesity leads to so many other diseases. It causes cholesterol, heart problems, we spoke about that. It harms the brain. It leads to mental decline, memory loss, and even intelligence. Your intelligence is negatively impacted by overeating when we eat too much food. It leads to excessive gas and bloating. Please don't overeat before you come to this majlis. And it makes you sleepy. Overeating makes you sleepy, and that will make you less productive in your life. So this is all what? Physically. But even spiritually, overeating, kathratul ta'am, has been condemned and discouraged by many traditions of Rasulullah and the Imams. Do not overeat, because this will impact your iman. your faith, your spirit will become sick. For example, once again, one of the ramifications, consequences of overeating is that you become spiritually lazy. Not just physically. You don't feel like praying, you don't feel like doing dua. You know, after iftar, who feels like getting up and praying? Nobody. Because we eat too much on iftar. If not iftar, some of us in suhoor. That's why it's always recommended, pray first, Salat al-Maghrib al-Isha, then eat your iftar unless you're starving. Because once you have your iftar and you know you can't stop, because you have like 7 types of food in front of you, but it'll be too difficult to pray after that. Also, you won't even focus on your salah. It'll be a miserable salah. You're tired, and not just you're tired, also you don't even feel like praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another effect that the Imams speak about of overeating, kathratul akil, kathratul ta'am, is qaswatul qalb. You know, qaswatul qalb, the hardening of the heart. And I mentioned this a few times in my lectures. When we say qalb in religious matters, yani in the Quran, when we see qalb or the hadith, it's not this physical organ. They say in Arabic, al-qalb as-sanawdari. No, it's not that. Qalb usually means your spirit, your iman. You know, they say this person has a good heart. Yani they mean he's healthy? No, they mean he's a good person. Sah? So in that meaning, heart, the symbolic heart. Eating too much, the traditions tell us, lead to the hardening of the heart. Your heart hardens. What happens when your heart hardens? I mentioned this also one of the nights. When your heart hardens, number one, you will be blinded from seeing the truth, from the signs of Allah. Remember the verse? إِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. Many times people, you'll find them, they have 20/20 vision. But why cannot they see the truth? Why does an atheist look at this vast universe and still say there's no God? Is he blind? No, the Quran says, إِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ. He can see it, but his heart cannot accept it. Because it has been what? بَلْ رَانَ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. There is an entire layer of rust, an entire layer of blackness that is preventing their heart from seeing the truth, from perceiving the truth. So this is one of the ramifications of hardening of the heart. Another ramification is that your dua will not be answered. When our hearts harden, our dua will not be answered. Another one of the consequences of hardening of the heart is that you will not enjoy ibadah, worship, supplication. Salah becomes a burden. Dua becomes a burden. You see some people, their 4-minute salah, it feels as if it's taking 2 hours long. The whole time they're just yawning and stretching and scratching and looking at their watch. It's just 4 minutes. Salah is torture for them. Dua is torture for them. Why? Because when the heart hardens, khalas ba'ad, the dua has to enter your heart, penetrate it, affect you. The hardness will not allow it. Nothing will enter. Nothing will affect you. This is one of the ramifications, one of the consequences of eating too much, in addition to eating haram. And this is what Imam al-Hussein highlighted on the day of Ashura. Imam al-Hussein, the grandson of Rasulullah, he came out before the battle started and he gave so many beautiful sermons. He told them, I'm the grandson of Rasulullah. Why have you come to kill me? Do you not see the nur? I imagine sometimes, do you not see the nur in the face of Imam al-Hussein? How could you bother him? How could you hurt him? But then the Imam, he said, وَأَنِّي أَعْلَمْ أَنَّكُمْ عَاصِينَ لِأَمْرِي. I know that you will all, except a very, very small minority who may have defected like Al-Hur, none of you will be affected by what I say. وَكُلُّكُمْ عَاصٍ لِأَمْرِي غَيْرُ مُسْتَمِعًا لِكَلَامِي. You won't even listen. Why? He says, فَقَدْ مُلِئَتْ بُطُونُكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ وَاسْتَحْوَذَ عَلَيْكُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ وَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ. Because your stomachs have been filled with haram. Now, were they eating pork? No. Why does the Imam say their stomach is filled with the haram? Because the money that they made was all haram money. Money from Yazid and Ibn Ziyad, right? Why were they able to kill Imam Hussein? For the reward, for the money. When you eat haram money, yani eat food that is bought with haram money, this is exactly like when you eat pork. That's going to have an impact on your soul, on your iman, on your qalb, on your spirit. So, this also is one of the consequences of overeating. And that's why overeating is makruh, eating more than you need when you feel stuffed. Number 3, the traditions tell us wisdom cannot grow in the heart when your heart is full. If you're trying to gain wisdom, whether naturally through learning and observation and studying, or you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire you, the only times that wisdom can grow in your heart is what? When your stomach is not full. When your stomach is full, khalas, there's a disconnect. It's like, the Wi-Fi is off, it's not working anymore. Your wisdom cannot grow. See how it affects us? There's a beautiful hadith from Imam al-Sadiq where he says, أَقْرَبُ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِذَا خَفَّ بَطْنُهُ. You know when you are closest to Allah? When you are hungriest. When your stomach is empty. Before iftar. These are the times when Allah Azza wa Jal will accept your dua. Because you're so close to Allah. Because that food is no longer a barrier now. It's all bad. Most of it has what? Has come out. You flushed it out of your body. وَأَبْعَدْ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِذَا امْتَلَأَ بَطْنُهُ. After iftar, you're the farthest from Allah Azza wa Jal. See? Before iftar, after iftar. Before iftar, you're so close to Allah. After iftar, now there's this huge meal between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, I will end with this beautiful hadith of Imam Ali. I think this is the most beautiful hadith that summarizes the path to living a healthy life. From Imam Ali alayhi salam. Wallahi, it should be written in gold. And we should all print it and put it on our kitchens, on our fridge, and on the dinner table, in your dinner room, dining table. Beautiful hadith where Imam Ali alayhi salam tells his son and Imam al-Hasan these words of wisdom. He says, Ya bunayya ala u'allimaka arba'a khisal. 4 things. تستغني بها عن الطب or عن الطبيب. I'll teach you 4 things. If you do them, he tells him, you will never need a doctor anymore. They say an apple a day keeps a doctor away, which is, by the way, this is also proven scientifically. And I've seen people who attest to that. I remember once even there was a marja who lived more than 100 years. And he was asked, and he was healthy. Usually even if you live a long life after 80, 85, 90, but it's all disease and pills, medication. He was very healthy. They asked him, what's your key to being healthy? He said, an apple a day. He said, for the last, 50 years or something like that, there was a doctor, someone who told me, eat an apple every day. And by the way, this is mentioned in our hadith, that apples also protect us and they give us immunity. And I saw a hadith from one of the companions, I believe, of Imam al-Rida, where the companion said that there is a plague, kind of like COVID, kind of like a pandemic, a virus that is spreading and everyone is becoming sick and I'm afraid. You know what the Imam told him? He told him, eat apples. Eat apples every day. And the narrator said, I ate apples and I was one of the few that did not get sick. Apples, they give you what? They boost your immunity. That's why an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So anyway, the Imam, he teaches Al-Imam Al-Hasan alayhi salam 4 things. If you do them, you will never need a doctor, or you will rarely need a doctor. You'll be healthy. Number 1, the Imam says, the first one, لا تجلس على الطعام إلا وأنت جائع. Do not sit to eat, do not have a meal unless you're hungry. Many times we eat, why? Because we're hungry? No, because it's lunchtime. Who cares if it's lunchtime? If you're not hungry, don't eat. Allah Azza wa Jal has placed this sensor in your body. For what reason? For what reason? Because your body is telling you, okay, now eat. Unless you're sick and your sensor is not working, your body knows when you need food. It's when you feel hungry. So Allah, because it's 1 o'clock, at the sufra, they put it, I have to eat. This is wrong. This is what leads to all the diseases and problems. Because I eat, I'm not hungry. It's dinner time, well, I have to eat. So I'm not hungry. You're not hungry, don't eat. Eat whenever you are hungry. This is the first teaching of the Imam. Another reason why sometimes we eat is because we're bored. You know, when you're bored sometimes, you have nothing to do, you quickly go to the fridge. Right? You open, you find some junk food, you eat it. Are you really hungry? No. That's why days that you are really busy, all of a sudden you forget to eat lunch. You forget to eat dinner. You're so busy. It's said, were you starving? Khalas, you're busy. You don't focus on the food. That's why even in the month of Ramadan, if you have a busy schedule, hunger and thirst will not affect you too much, because ba'ad khalas, you'll be focused on what you're doing, your work or whatever it is, and you won't focus too much on the food and the hunger. Other times we eat food simply because we see something that's delicious and we can't say no. Right now I'm not hungry, but let's say they bring, something that I really love. I don't know what you guys love, whatever. Any type of food. Give us an example, doctor. Gemat, ahsant. They bring nice, beautiful gemat, right? I think doctor is sending a message to the sisters. Let's have some gemat tomorrow. Joking. We try to stay healthy and cut down on these foods. Cut down, remember, but not completely ban it, but cut down. So anyway, I'm not hungry at all, but I see gemat, I have to have a gemat. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of a sudden you see you're stuffed. Only eat when you are hungry. Number 2, the Imam said, وَلَا تَقُمْ عَنِ الطَّعَامِ إِلَّا وَأَنْتَ تَشْتَهِيهِ. And when you're eating your meal, now that you're hungry, do not get up. Do not stop eating when you're full. If you stop eating when you're full, you've overdone it. This is overeating. He says, stop eating before you get full. You're still hungry. You still have an appetite. You just stop. Why? SubhanAllah, there's a scientific reason behind that. They say that when you eat food, it takes on average 20 minutes. You can Google this on scientific medical websites. It takes 20 minutes for your brain to tell your stomach, or is it the other way around? Your stomach to tell your brain, so whatever. Your brain to tell your stomach that you are full. So let's say they brought you a plate filled with timman laham, uzi, right? Aishu laham. You eat half of it, but you don't feel full, and you still want more. Are you full or are you not full? Full, I don't mean stuffed, I mean khalas, you're good. You are. But why are you still hungry? Because it takes time for your body to process it, for your mind. That's why I've noticed, if you eat, let's say, half of your food, and then something happens, someone calls you, you have to leave, you come back after 15, 20 minutes, but you don't want to eat anymore. You notice that? That's why they say, don't call me, when I'm eating, رح تصدمني. You're going to khalas, break my, you're going to mess up my food. What do you mean رح تصدمني? If your body telling you, I don't want it, don't eat it, it's bad. That means it was all extra. Now how much should you eat? When should you stop? I don't know, but whatever you're eating, I think usually half of it. Wait after 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You may still have some hunger, but khalas, you're good. And you could deal with it. It's good. And I usually notice this on planes. If you're traveling on economy class, how much do they bring you food? This much, right? Like literally 2 spoons. And some people, they tell me, say, I want 5 of these, whatever they bring you. Shouldn't they give me this one? But usually when you eat the food, and there's a salad, usually there's a drink, there's dessert. When you finish, you're still hungry. Sah? You still have an appetite. But after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, ba'ad khalas. You see, it kind of went away. You can still eat, but you're good ba'ad. Why? It takes time for your body to realize, for your brain to realize that you are full. Number 3, the Imam says, وَجَوِّدِ الْمَضْغَ. Subhanallah. You see the Imam? He's not just an Imam in religion, he's an Imam even in medicine, even in health. He says, make sure when you eat, you chew your food very well. Right now, they have discovered in the last century so many benefits to chewing your food well. Chew your food a lot. Let me just quickly, I know I'm out of time, quickly mention some benefits. It helps with digestion. Some people have digestion problems, right? One thing that helps is chewing your food more. Chew it more. And not chewing leads many times to either bloating or diarrhea. This is on medical websites. When you chew your food more, you absorb more nutrients, your body absorbs more nutrients and energy from the food. Number 3, it's good for your teeth. It's proven scientifically. Chewing more is good for your teeth. And number 4, you will feel full faster when you chew more. Why? Because remember, it takes time for your brain to... So if you slow down a bit in your meal, chew more, then you will feel full faster before finishing your food. And even now, in the world of, in the healthcare world, they have a specific number. They tell you chew your food at least this many times. Who knows it? What's that? It's a random number. 32. Right? How many times on Google do I have to chew my food? You'll see that magic number, 32. It's 30, 35, somewhere in there. Chew your food. How many of us chew our food 32 times? If you count it, usually we don't. 15, 20, 25 times. Imam Ali alayhi salam, 1400 years ago, he says this. And then finally, number 4, but this is a little off topic and it'll take time. But the point is, brothers and sisters, Islam gives us the most beautiful system that we can live by, that ensures both a beautiful life in this dunya and a beautiful life in the akhirah. We just have to go and take these treasures that are hidden from Ahlul Bayt, and this is only a fraction of the material and the content that we have from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. Truly, if one works on these traditions and verses and extracts them and organizes them, I think this could potentially cause a revolution in the healthcare field. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all, give us the tawfiq that we can follow the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam, so that we can live the best and highest quality life in this dunya and in the akhirah. Allahumma ighfir lil-mu'minina wal-mu'minat al-ahya'i minhum wal-amwat. Allahumma ajjil li waliyika al-faraj waj'alna min ansarihi wa awanihi wal-mustashhadina bayna yadayhi wa la arwah al-mu'minina wal-mu'minat nuhdi thawab al-Fatiha ma'a as-salawat.